John Grace, founder, president, Investors Advantage Corp. John, thanks for being with us today. I wanted to go a little bit, let's back up here and go step by step. What should be some of the first thoughts when someone who really wants to make a financial plan? Because it can be very intimidating.
It can be, but let's look at it the way people plan vacations or the way they plan weddings. They're quite intimidating, especially when all the people show up, if you can have them in your backyard again. But you take on the task, and certainly when you're planning your vacation, many of us spend more time planning our vacations than we do our financial future. Now might be a time, now that we're more dormant than we have been normally, to, just as people are redoing their houses and putting things in order, how about getting your financial house in order, taking the time to discover how much money are you going to need behind door number one so that you can make work optional and the same kind of income shows up after you stop working as it did when you were working.
Right. So what do we do here? I mean, we have to frame it in the right way possible. How much losses are appropriate, how much risk we want to take on. Should we be aggressive, conservative? I don't know. What are some of these key words that you throw around when you're trying to put this thing together without spooking anybody?
Yeah, and I like to lose the are you conservative, moderate, or aggressive, because the fact of the matter is neither the person asking the question or the person trying to answer it, we really aren't speaking on the same wavelength. So it's really about how much loss can you accept. But I don't want you to put that cart before the horse. In other words, if we're working with a couple age 35 making $100,000, they really haven't set aside any money. We want them to see that at age 70, that's when they'd like to make work optional. They're going to need a total of $2.6 million to see the equivalent of the $100,000 minus a modest pension or none and Social Security. So that way they can see we have to put $15,000 aside, get a 7% return. And if we have that combination, guess what? In 35 years, exactly $2.6 million will be sitting behind door number one. Now, it'll never be exact, but let's remember, the Apollo moon rockets are off course 97% of the time. They're only on course 3 or 4% of the time. So there are going to be waxes and wanes and hardships and difficulties and some surprises to the upside. But we think it makes sense, as I say, just as we plan our vacation, I'm leaving here, I'm going there, I hope to arrive on time safely. Now let's take the time to figure out exactly what your goal is. And it's an independent determination, just as your vacation is independently determined.
I think there's a lot of incidentals and things that people don't plan for, right? Yeah, you need a new car. Somebody needs an operation. More education, something for the house. I don't know. There seem to be, every time someone tries to save, so hard to save. How do you tell people to do that? Do they just need to live a life with a little less?
100%. We all have to recognize that the primary way that we are successful is we have to live with below our means, certainly within our means. And Americans, I think we have learned the mantra, spend, baby, spend. Whether it's cash or credit doesn't matter. We all want to look like we're the Kardashians. Well, we're not. And we're not those cash machines that they happen to be. So let's, like I say, 15% in this case. In many cases, it's 10%. For some people, it needs to be 20%. But let's just recognize if you don't make sure your payment shows up at GMAC or wherever you financed your new car with, they're going to take the car. Well, who's going to make sure you have enough money after you stop work? And so many of us, Nicole, are in a position where we are literally one paycheck away from being destitute. This has to change, but we each have to take responsibility for making those changes.
Yeah, and we saw, with the PPP and unemployment, there were some folks making more money than they had made prior. And people realize now that they've got to save and put things aside. I remember there was a survey done and people didn't even have $400 saved up just in case. So we really need to make it more of a priority and have some more financial literacy education for some of our young folks in schools and things. John Grace, it's so nice to see you. Thank you always, founder, president, Investors Advantage Corp. Focus on your financial planning, not just your vacation.